police, I think.
What?
Mr. Henry is in a state, ma'am. We thought it better tell you.
If you had told me Mr. Henry was not in a state, it would have been more surprising. Tell him to come up after they finish with the police. I suppose he's lost something.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, and go upstairs and tell Miss Doolittle that the Colonel and Mr. Henry are here. Ask her not to come down until I send for her.
Yes, ma'am.
Look here, Mother. Here's a confounded thing.
Yes, dear. Good morning. Now, what is it?
Eliza's bolted.
Oh, you must have frightened her.
Frightened her? Nonsense. She was left last night as usual to put out the lights and all that. And instead of going to bed, she changed her clothes and went right off. Her bed wasn't slept in. She came in a cab for her things before 7 this morning. And that fool Mrs. Pierce let her have them without telling me a word about it. What am I to do?
Do without, I'm afraid, Henry. The girl has the perfect right to leave if she chooses.
But I can't find anything. I don't know what appointments I've got.
Good morning, Mrs. Higgins. Has Henry told you?
What does that ass of an inspector say? Have you offered a reward?
Oh, you don't mean to say that you have sent the police after Eliza?
Of course. What are the police for? What else could we do?
Oh, the inspector has made some difficulties. He suspects us of some improper purpose.
Of course he does. Oh, what right have you to give the police the girl's name as though she were a thief or a lost umbrella or something? Really?
But we want to find her.
Yes, we couldn't let her go like this. What were we to do?
You have no more sense, either of you, than 2 children.
Mr. Henry, a gentleman wants to see you very particular. It's been sent on from Wimpole Street.
Oh, bother. I can't see anyone now. Who is it?
A Mr. Doolittle, sir.
Doolittle? Do you mean the dustman?
Dustman? No, sir. A gentleman.
Hey, George, Pitt. It's some relative of hers that she's gone to. Somebody we know nothing about. Send him up quick.
Yes, sir.
Genteel relatives. Now we shall hear something.
Do you know any of her people?
Only her father, the fellow we told you about.
Mr. Doolittle.
You see this? You've done this.
Done what, man?
Yes, look at it. Look at his hat. Look at his coat.
Has Eliza been buying your clothes?
Eliza, not she. Why would she buy me clothes?
Good morning, Mr. Doolittle. Won't you sit down?
I'm asking your pardon, ma'am. I'm so full of what's happened to me, I can't think of anything else.
What the dickens has happened to you?
I shouldn't mind if it only happened to me. I mean, anything can happen to anybody. And everybody to blame the province, as you might say. But this is something you've done to me. Yes, you, Henry Higgins.
Have you found Eliza?
Yeah, have you lost her?
Yes.
Yeah, well, the luck you have. No, I ain't found her, but you'll find me quick enough after what you've done to me.
Well, what has my son done to you, Mr. Doolittle?
Done to me? Ruined me. Destroyed my happiness. Wrapped me up and tied me up and sent me into the arms of middle-class morality.
You're crazy. You're drunk. You're mad. I gave you £5. After that, I had 2 conversations with you at £0.50 an hour. I've never seen you since.
Mad am I? Drunk am I? But tell me this. Did you or did you not write a letter to an old blighter in America that was giving $5 million to found moral reform societies all over the world, and they wanted you to invent a universal language for me?
What? Ezra D. Wannafeller? He's dead.
Yes, he's dead and I'm done for. Now tell me this, did you or did you not write a letter saying the most original moralist at present in England, to the best of your knowledge, was Alfred Doolittle, a common dustman?
Oh, after your first visit, I remember making some silly joke of the kind.
It may have been a silly joke to you, but it put a lid on me right enough. Just give him a chance to show that Americans is not like us, that they recognise and respect merit in every class of life, however humble. Them words was in his blooming will, Edmonds, and thanks to you, he gave me a share of his pre-digested cheese trust, worth $3,000 a year. on condition that I lecture for them, as often as they ask, up to 6 times a year.
The devil he does! Whew! What a lark! Ha ha!
You're in luck there, Doolittle. They'll not ask you twice.
And ain't lecture no mind. I'll lecture them blue in the face, I will, not turn a hair. It's making a gentleman out of me that I object to. Who asked Tim to make a gentleman out of me? I was happy, I was free. I touched nigh everybody for money when I needed it, the same as I touched you and me, Higgins. And now I'm worried, by neck and heels, and everybody touches me for money. It's a fine thing for you, says my solicitor. Oh, miss it, says I. You mean it's a good thing for you, I says. When I was a poor man, I had a solicitor once when they found the pram in my dust card. And he got me off, and got me shot of him and shot me as quick as he could. Now, same with the doctors. They used to shove me out of the hospital before I got all these stains on my legs. Well, now they find out that I'm not an healthy man. I can't live unless they looks after me twice a day. And now, so I'm not let do a handstand for myself. Somebody else must do it. They touched me for it. A year ago, I had no relative in the world, except 2 or 3 wouldn't speak to me. Now I'm 50, and not a decent week's wages among a lot of them. I'm expected to live for others, now, not myself. That's middle-class morality. You talk with Lewis and Eliza, now don't you be anxious. She's probably on my doorstep by this. She who could support herself easily by selling flowers if I wasn't respectable. And the next one to touch me will be you, Henry Higgins. Yeah, I'll have to learn to speak middle-class language instead of speaking proper English. And that's where you'll come in. And I dare say that's what you've done me for.
But my dear Mr. Doolittle, you need not suffer all this if you're really in earnest. I mean, no one can force you to accept the bequest, and you can repudiate it. Isn't that so, Colonel Pickering?
I believe so.
That's the tragedy of it, ma'am. It's easy to say, Chucky, but I haven't the nerve. Which of us has? Intimidated. We're all intimidated, ma'am. That's what we are. What is there for me if I chuck it but the workhouse in my old age? And I'll have to dye my hair already to keep my job as a dustman. If I was one of the deserving poor, and I had put by a bit, I could chuck it. But then, why should I? Of course, the deserving poor might as well be millionaires for all the happiness they ever has. They don't know what happiness is. But I, as one of the undeserving poor, have nothing between me and a pauper's uniform but this here plastic 3,000 a year that shoves me into the middle class. Pardon my expression, man, but you'd use it yourself if you had my provocation. They got you anywhere you turn. It's your choice between the skilly of the workhouse or the chirupiness of the middle class. And I haven't the nerve for the workhouse. Intimidated, that's what I am. Broke. He brought up. Happy men in me would call for my dust and then touch me for that yet. And I'll look on helpless and envy them. And that's what your son has brought me to.
I'm glad you're not going to do anything foolish, Mr. Doolittle, for this solves the problem of Eliza's future. You can provide for her now.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm expected to provide for everyone now. For 3,000 a year.
Nonsense! He can't provide for her. He shan't provide for her. She doesn't belong to him. I paid him £5 for her. Doolittle, either you're an honest man or a rogue.
A little of both. Not the rest of us. A little of both.
Well, you took that money for the girl, and you have no right to take her as well.
Henry, don't be absurd. If you want to know where Eliza is, she's upstairs.
Upstairs? Then I shall jolly soon fetch her downstairs.
Oh, Henry, now, be quiet. Sit down. Sit down, dear.
Very well,
And listen to me.
I think you might have told us this half an hour ago.
Eliza came to me this morning, and she told me of the brutal way you two had treated her.
What? My dear Mrs. Higgins, the girl has been telling you stories. We haven't treated her brutally. We hardly said a word to her. Well, parted on the best of terms. Higgins, you didn't bully her after I went to bed, did you?
Just the other way about. She threw my slippers in my face. She behaved in the most outrageous way. I never gave her the slightest provocation. The slippers came bang into my face the moment I entered the room, before I had uttered a word, and used perfectly awful language.
But why? What did we do to her?
Oh, I think I know pretty well what you did to her. The girl is naturally quite affectionate, I think, isn't she, Mr. Doolittle?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Very tender-hearted. It checks after me, she does.
Quite so, yes. She became very attached to you both. She worked very hard for you, Henry. I don't think you realize what the nature of brain work means to a girl of her class. Well, when the great day of trial came, and she performed wonderfully for you without making a single mistake, neither of you said a word to her. But you sat there and you talked to each other about how glad you were that it was all over and how bored you had been with the whole thing. And then you were surprised that she threw your slippers at you. I would have thrown the fire irons at you.
We said nothing except that we were tired and wanted to go to bed, did we, Pick?
Oh, that was all.
Quite sure.
Oh, absolutely. Really, that was all.
You didn't thank her, or pet her, or admire her, or tell her how splendid she had been.
But she knew all about that. We didn't make speeches to her, if that's what you mean.
Perhaps we were a bit inconsiderate. Is she very angry?
No, she is not coming back to Wimpole Street, especially now that Mr. Doolittle is able to keep up the position that you have thrust upon her. She is, however, willing to meet you on friendly terms and let bygones be bygones.
She is, by George. Ha!
Henry, if you promise to behave yourself, I'll ask her to come down. If not, go home. You've taken up enough of my time.
Oh, all right. Very well. Pick, you behave yourself. Let us put on our best Sunday manners for this creature that we picked out of the mud.
Now, Henry, have lots of considerations for my feelings as a middle class.
Henry, remember your promise. Mr. Doolittle, would you be willing to step outside the room for a moment? I don't want Eliza to have the shock of your news until she has made it up with these two gentlemen. Would you mind?
As you wish, lady. Anything to help Henry keep her off of my hands.
Would you ask Miss Doolittle to come down, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Henry,